come here today and talk to you about this thing called bullying. This is perhaps the greatest moral puzzle that we have ever faced in human history. We have between 500,000 and 1 million students, educators, their age, that attempt to end their own lives every single year in this country. If you can balance the perspective stick on the first try for a whopping 10 seconds, how many? I promise you, I'll give you that $100 bill. Now here's the only rule, Wyatt. You see where your fingers meet that stick? You can't take your eyes off that spot. That has to be your perspective. On your mark, get set, go. 1, 2! The way he's looking at the puzzle, in less than a second, in the blink of an eye, the game changes only because he shifts his perspective. When I say go this time, my man, in the blink of an eye, in less than a second, I want you to change your perspective and look at the top of this. On your mark, get set, go. And you'll see that my man Wyatt can probably balance that stick all day long. Let's look at the word bully, and when you do, here's what you see. It's Western crossbow brain person who visually intensely basketball with the people. You got it? 4 things in this definition, students, educators. You have to know them all. Number 1, the behavior has to be habitual, which means it happens over and over again. That's why most of you in here don't understand this thing called bullying. Somebody did something to you once, twice, 3 times. It didn't feel real good, but it hasn't become half a lifetime. What happens habitually? This thing called intimidation. All intimidation means is that you're being mean or something. Understand this, educators. 170,000 students skip school every day in North America because they're afraid. Habitually, over and over, intimidating. And here's the big one. Smaller or weaker people. Now, you're all old enough to know in here, I ain't talking about how tall someone is, how big their muscles are. I'm talking about the fact that your father is in prison. I'm talking about the fact that you're brand new to this school. I'm talking about the fact that your family doesn't have a lot of money. I'm talking about the fact that your hair is different, your skin is different, your sexuality is different. Let me tell you, educators, what smaller, weaker means. You ready for this? It means anything. And here's the last one. And educators, this is almost exclusively for you. It happens on purpose. It's not an accident. My man here has got stuff going on at home, like with his parents, with his grandparents. It means that he's failing a class, he got cut from a sports team, whatever. And somebody gets in his way, he shoves them, he says something disrespectful or hurtful. He didn't bully anybody. He probably operated on his feelings like he's supposed to. Those are opportunities, educators, for us to help kids through those feelings, to learn, to grow as their brains grow. Not bullying, students. Bullying happens on purpose to hurt other people. It's habitually, over and over, intimidating smaller, weaker people, which means anything, and it happens on purpose. Bullying. We have 50 million public school students in North America. 60% of them, over half of the kids in this room, believe that kids that get bullied deserve it. But here's the funny thing. If I walk up to any one of the kids in America, any one of 50 million public school students, and I say, hey, do you think kids that get bullied deserve it? She's gonna say no. But let me tell you what she just did. She thought about the kids on either side of her. She thought about her best friend. She thought about her cousin. She thought about the average kid in school. But let me tell you who she didn't think about. Let me tell you who you didn't think about. She didn't think about the little boy, little girl, never met his father. Mom just lost her job. They got evicted from their apartment. They had to move into a trailer on a family member's piece of land. They got no running water yet. That's why he comes to school with that kick in BO. He stinks. That's kind of funny sometimes. Wears the same jeans to school every day. Everybody knows it. He's got a big stain on his pants. Gross. But y'all didn't know that his mom's boyfriend's an alcoholic, calls him stupid, makes fun of him. He doesn't even have a bedroom. He sleeps on the couch in the trailer. That's the kid I'm talking about. That's the kid that 60% of American students believes deserves it. You realize, educators, that if I took a blank sheet of paper, ripped it out, and gave it to any 8th grader in North America, and I said, hey, could you write down the name of someone who's not treated the right way in your school? Someone who gets picked on, someone who gets bullied. Could you write that person's name down? Of course you could. And if you flipped it over, could you write down the name of someone who might even be a bully? Of course they could. That's why 96 to 97% of the time, in the best schools in this country, educators, that behavior's gotten away with. That should blow your mind, educators, that every kid in here can tell you where it happens, when it happens, why it happens, and who it happens to, and it's gotten away with. 85% of all bullying students, educators, happens in front of other people. And that's the reason I'm here. This is gonna sound a little weird, but I didn't come here for kids that get bullied. I didn't come here for kids that are bullies. I came here for the rest of you. Because you're the solution, you're the key. There's some perspective for you. In a world of hopelessness, educators, it has to begin with this thing called hope. Now, let me tell you what hope stands for, students. It stands for hold on, possibilities exist. HOPE. You realize since 2007, suicides in 10 to 14-year-olds, that's the kids in this room, have doubled. The number one thing to take the life of a 10 to 14-year-old in any educator's life in this room has always been car accidents. For the first time in human history, last year, the number one thing to take a kid out of this room, their own hands. Hopeless. I go around the country, students, and I meet kids that feel this way. They feel like they can't hold on. They feel like there's no possibilities that exist for their future. So they give up. I don't understand hopelessness at that level, but I know someone that does. I know someone that understands hopelessness on another level. Y'all please welcome one of the world's hope experts, Mr. Rick Yard.
I can talk to you today about hope and hopelessness. And really, for me, that story begins on September 1st, 2006, when I was in Iraq as a soldier in the Army, and I was on a patrol on a dirt road that I had been on many times before, in a vehicle called a Bradley. Well, that day that I was on that patrol, somebody had buried an IED underneath the road. An IED is an improvised explosive device. It's basically a homemade bomb. My Bradley ran over that bomb, the bomb detonated, went through the bottom of my vehicle, up into the turret where I was sitting. Also in the turret is where we have our fuel tank. It hit the fuel tank. And this is an actual picture of my vehicle after it had burned for many, many hours. So as soon as the Bradley was on fire, I was on fire. Now, when I hit the ground, I was still on fire. And what were we all taught to do if we ever caught on fire? Right. Stop, drop, and roll. And that's what I did. I rolled around on the ground and I tried to put the fire out. But I couldn't. I couldn't put the fire out because I had too much fuel on my body. All I was doing when I was rolling around was setting the dead grass on fire. I could not put the fire out. And that's when I did something that I regret. One of the biggest regrets of my life. That's when I just laid on my back and I stared up into the sky and I gave up. I gave up that all-important thing, the thing that we all have inside of us that keeps us going every single day. That thing called hope. Now, Tom said what hope stood for. Hold on, possibilities exist. In that moment of hopelessness for me, I was giving up on all the possibilities that existed for my future. Now, I didn't know what those possibilities were. Like, I had no idea if I would be a doctor someday. I didn't know if I'd play football again someday. I had no idea I'd be presenting to students someday. But in the end, it didn't matter what those possibilities were because I was giving up on every single one of them. And I ended up in the hospital for 6 months. So half of an entire year, I was in a hospital room, lost hope many times. Even after I got out of the hospital, when people would think, Rick's doing better. He's out of the hospital now. I wasn't doing better. Physically, sure, I was doing better. Mentally, I was not. What was leading me to hopelessness was the fact that young children, they were absolutely terrified of me. Like, as soon as they saw me in my wheelchair, they would hide behind their parents or they would run away. And I got to the point where I was like, Rick, why do you even go out in public anymore? Just stay home. Like, you know, if you leave the house, you're gonna scare a child. Just stay home. It's safer there. Well, one day I went to a restaurant and I was sitting at a table with my brother, and there was a table across from us. And at this table was a family. In the family was a little girl, 5 or 6 years old, the perfect age for a kid to be afraid of me. They were old enough to recognize that I was scary. Well, this little girl was staring at me, obviously. And I could also tell that she was afraid of me. Now, her grandfather was sitting right next to her, and he saw that she was staring at me. So he leaned down and quietly said to her, go say hi to me. I didn't want her to come all the way over to my table. I knew how uncomfortable she was already. So when she got halfway over to my table, as nicely as I could say to her, I said, hey, how you doing? But as soon as I said that, as soon as that first word came out of my mouth, she stopped dead in her tracks, like she saw a monster. And she turned around and she ran back to her grandpa as fast as she could. I'm like, you know what, Rick? Just get used to it. Just deal with it. Just figure it out, because this is the way it will always be. Kids are always going to be afraid of you. That little girl, she ran back to her grandpa. She got back to him and she looked at him and she said, Grandpa, he's really nice. He's really nice. That is not what I thought she was going to say. In that moment of hopelessness for me, that little girl, who again was only 5 or 6 years old, she came over to me. She dumped a bucket of hope on me. And when she did that, she changed my life forever. And that's why I'm here. To let you know that there's an actual piece of you that you can give to somebody else to change that person's life forever. We need to change the environment that we're in by creating an environment of hope. So when that kid who does feel hopeless, when they walk through the doors in the morning and they're walking through the hallways, they know they're not going to feel hopeless for long, because they know the environment has changed. They know that now they're going to pass by somebody that recognizes something different about themselves, one of you, that recognizes you have hope inside of you. And eventually one of you will give them that hope that they know they're going to get. Because again, that environment has changed. And one of you eventually will change that person's life forever.
Action changes everything. Nothing changes in this world. Nothing changes in your community unless you actually, they know this idiom already, educators, unless you actually jump into action. What's your name? Nathan, nice to meet you. I'm about to give you a little lesson on jumping into action. Come here, Nathan. You're gonna run, you're gonna jump, and you're gonna show us how high you could get. You're gonna use this hand, and you're gonna touch the wall, and you're gonna mark it so everybody can see. You got it? All right. Now, Nathan, you can't hold back any. You gotta give me everything you got. All right? Yeah! Yeah! Easy, bro. All right, I believe it. You can't come down and say you could do better. You can't come down and say, oh, I can do better. Because I'm gonna make you look silly after this. All right? All right. Now everything you got, Nathan, on the count of 3. Ready? Shh, shh, shh. 1, 2, everything. Everything. 1, 2, 3, go, Nathan, go, go, go! Oh, shoot! Nathan, I gotta ask you one question. Why'd you lie to me?
I lied?
Why'd you lie to me? You didn't? Why'd you lie to me, Nathan? Huh? You said you'd give me everything you got. You did? Huh? What do you mean? Did you try your hardest? He thinks he tried his hardest. I'm gonna give my man Nathan here one more try. Now, Nathan, hold up. Hold up. Now, Nathan, if you get like a centimeter higher, which you can, because you already did your best, you could have that and go back to your seat. But you can't. Here's what I've learned, students. Here's what I've learned, educators. My man Nathan will never get higher unless you create an environment of hope for him. So check this out. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go, Nathan, go, go, go! Oh! All right, educators, pay close attention. You're gonna watch your first ever bully drill. We do fire drills with kids our whole lives, probably never use one for real. Imagine if we raised a generation of young people that practice jumping into action. Where would they be when they get to be this age? Hey, what'd I tell you about wearing that stupid shirt? I told you the next time whoa, bro, did you just touch me?
You gotta leave him alone, man. That's not cool.
Bro, I do whatever I want in this school.
Well, guess what? I'm gonna interfere because this is not cool. You shouldn't bully someone because of what the shirt they're wearing.
Bro, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Trees don't walk.
Bro, you're about to have a real problem.
Well, you're already my problem and his problem.
Whoa, I'm your problem?
Yeah.
You're about to have a real problem. Yo, hey.
Let's get out of here, man. We don't need
Hey, what are you doing? Educators, it's always good to rewind the tape. Tell them what they did well, what they could do better. He got in there within that first 10 seconds. I liked how he came over, ton of confidence. His heart rate's going crazy. Even in a play situation, educators, he did a great job. He tried to confront it with a ton of confidence. When I got in his face, he bailed. It was okay. But then what did he do? He fell back on the first superpower. He just took him away. Wouldn't even look back hardly. Did a great job. Give him a hand. Hey, dude, what's up? Freak. Hey, best friend, are we going to go to the mall? You're my best friend. Hello. What are you looking at? Oh, that weirdo? He's pretty weird, huh? Yeah, he is. Are we going to go to the mall today?
Well, we can go if we take him.
Ew, gross.
Hey,
what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Come back. Hey! Hey, best friend!
Sorry.
I sensationalized this one a little bit, but every single person in this room, educators included, you all got to admit, you've had friends of yours that have said things, done things that ain't cool for other people, that have said things, hurt people's feelings, and most of the time, we just go right along with it. We shake our heads. We know what's wrong. That's a hard thing to do. That's probably the hardest thing to do in the world, is to walk away from your best friend. She did a great job. Give her a big hand. I know every single one of you in this room has hope inside of you that you could give to other people. It's a choice that you'll make to become their sweetheart. Rick Yarish taught us that. And there's a few of you in here today that will make the choice the next time you see someone not being treated the right way to jump into action, to own that 10-second moment, to use those superpowers that I just gave you or your own superpower, and I promise you, you will become that kid's hero. Everybody give my man Rick Yarish one more hand. Okay, sure. All right, 5 back to let go. I can reach you out.
It exceeded my expectations immensely. I do believe it's transformational for students and also educators. What's unique about this presentation, it asks for student volunteers and participation, and I think the way he uses the students is really powerful and meaningful. He's intentional about it. It was emotional. It's really good to see the support. The students know what they need to do. It's having that courage, and I think Tom did a great job talking about having courage to do it. It's not easy, and cheering that. You know, they did it, and they did it well. And so seeing that the student body supports that and each other was moving.